Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Rimshots with Sean right here on the Rock Rage Radio Network. I'm starting to call this the curtain call edition of Rock Rage Radio Network because I have yet another artist, very excited, Carrie Anderson from Northern Utah in a band by the name of Scarlet Rain. Welcome, welcome. How are you?
Thanks. I'm awesome. How are you doing?
Super. So, where did the name derive from?
So we were actually a band for about 2 months, and I'm terrible at naming things. Like even when it comes to songs, I'm just awful at it. So actually, our drummer at the time, his 9-year-old daughter, she's kind of an artist, and she came up with a name, and I was like, wow, that sounds pretty cool. So yeah, she named us.
It's very, I mean, from a visual standpoint, it can go anywhere from theatrical to pop to, a bunch of different ways. For my viewers that haven't discovered you guys yet, but will after this, explain, what you guys are in terms of a band.
So musically, I guess we kind of place ourselves in like a hard rock genre. Our first two albums were really kind of more like a southern people. I used to call it medium rock, but with this last album, we brought on a new bass player. The dynamics kind of changed, and so we kind of slipped into this like harder rock genre. Our bass player Jason, he's doing a lot of screaming, backup vocals. So yeah, we've kind of had that evolution over the last couple of years.
So now you said you've had, this is your two albums. You get another one on the way out. Is that correct?
Mhm. Correct. Yep. We've got our first album is called 11th Hour. We put that out, I want to say about 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
It was all self-produced and self-recorded, just all homegrown and everything. And then our second album, Mariah, came out in 2021. And during that time, we actually transitioned to our guitarist at the time is now our drummer, and then we brought on a new bass player. So that's kind of how all that dynamic changed. And then the third album, where I'm actually headed out to go record vocals for the last song on that album after this meeting. So
There you go.
yeah,
Well, that'll be good.
good,
We
good
won't do too
stuff
much
coming.
we won't do too much to spray in your throat. And guitar player becomes drummer. I love that. I'm a
Mhm.
drummer myself, and I've often thought about playing guitar better, but maybe that might be motivation now. That seems to be the way that things go right now. You've been with Curtain Call Records how long?
Um, 3 months. Three
Okay.
months, and man, we are just off to the races. They've been putting us out and just pushing us out into the social media platforms, and just, yeah, there's big things coming. So we're super stoked to be a part of it.
So what I like to do when I talk about Curtain Call, because they have a real interesting. I met John kind of out of the blue. I was repping an artist up here and sent the music and sort of talking to John, and I kind of Gigi, I've kind of talked to her a little bit, but Brian, I've got this rapport with because I said to them, like, I gotta get your artist on my podcast. And for people that don't know about Curtain Call, what they're to me, they seem very artist friendly. What would you say if somebody was looking at a label or trying to find out about a label about Curtain Call Records?
Um, it's kind of scary. There's so many people coming at you. We've received, I don't even know how many kind of emails of like, oh, let us produce you. Oh, come to over here. Let us do this. Let us do that. And me and John had a couple of meetings because I was pretty hesitant going into it because there's just so many people out there in the industry trying to take advantage of artists. And it's just you just have to be so careful. But me and John talked a couple of times on some Zoom meetings, and I think the reason we decided to go with them was he knows what he's talking about. He has so much history in the industry. He knows what's going on. And he's not out there trying to take advantage of artists and make money off of him. That's just this mutual, relationship that he's creating. And like his passion for trying to keep rock alive in, this industry where, pop is such you know, just overseeing of all the music, in the United States, especially. And so just somebody that shares that same passion to keep rock alive and going. And his knowledge of the industry was just like, we couldn't say no. So
I love that what you're saying there, because I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago and they said that people are almost to the point where they don't care about music right now, right? It's just it's brand versus what's good, what's good is what's good to the listener, right? I mean, everybody has their own. I'm a huge Kiss fan, and a lot of people, Kiss, they suck. Well, I didn't you know, I don't want to see four guys stand in one place tapping their foot on stage. I want stuff blown up, whatever.
Mhm.
So I like what you're saying there because they are trying to make people care about their artists. I've interviewed a number of their artists now, and the vibe is that. That's what I'm getting. So
Mhm.
what are some of the things that you guys have been doing? I mean, I know they're really big on pushing their artists to festivals and things like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now, I think we just signed up with them in June. So it's just been a couple months. But I mean, we've already been on two other podcasts and done interviews where we're kind of one of their only bands in the West Coast. I think there's maybe only a couple more of us. They're trying to make, connections to get us onto festivals and to some bigger shows. I mean, and they've already are talking festivals next year. So, I mean, they're just, Brian, he's out there just grinding, trying to get us out there, trying to get us promoted. And like you said, I tell a lot of people, like, there's just so many artists nowadays. Anybody can make music, and maybe not everybody should be making music, but there's just this rat race, like who's going to get to the top, who's going to get to the top. And so us, kind of strategically making this move to go to Curtain Call was just like, we need help to get our music heard. Obviously I think it's good music, so I want to get it out there to people, but trying to get to the top of the pile is just, it's maddening. It's just, you need somebody in there that's passionate and that believes in you. And Curtain Call has just been amazing so far. So,
Well, I mean, I always joke around about you do these interviews, and I just did one with Michael Sweet from Striper last week, which was cool.
mm-hmm.
But you do these interviews, and you think you've hit something really good, and I don't know, it gets 1,000 views, and you go like, "What the heck?" And then some guy feeds raccoons on his back deck, and it goes viral. And you never know. And I use that joke a lot. And my viewers are going to go, "Oh no, not again." But the point is that you have to do it for yourself first, right? And if people catch on to it, awesome. So I mean, and I get your point too. There's 1,001 people, and I think the one thing in music that's missing solely right now is the dues paying piece. Right, our game's too easy to get into these days. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you've got an iPhone or you've got whatever, it's easy to do that. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just creating, there's only so many ears, right? And there's only so many times to listen to music. And so it's just, I think people are kind of overwhelmed almost with the amount of music that's happening. I mean, and you promote on Spotify, you promote on Facebook, you promote on TikTok, and it's just it's a lot. But it's like, I believe in what we're doing so much, and I know Curtain Call believes in us too. And so I think with that partnership, we'll hopefully be able to at least get a little more ears turned into our direction, and hopefully share our music with the world. So
I mean, in the car business, they call all that stuff the confusion close, and that's not even a joke. Like they just try to throw so much at you that you're signing off on, undercoating that you don't need. And you're right, the music business is like that. I mean, it's at the end of the day, you have to try to make yourself appealing to a bunch of people that really don't care, and their attention span is horribly short. So I mean, hey, it's a great
mm-hmm.
business. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So for my viewers that are going to discover you, give me a couple of comparables about what your band would sound like and who they would sound like and influences and those types of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess the biggest comparison we get is kind of like with Hellstorm. Lizzie Hell is obviously a big influence on me. She just kicks so much ass. Like, she's just phenomenal. As a kid growing up, I was exposed, to everything from old school country to pop to new age to metal. But one of my childhood, and still to this day, is Anne from Heart,
Yeah,
Anne and Nancy Wilson.
yeah,
They're just amazing. And then I really love Maria Brinks from In This Moment.
yep.
She's pretty big influence as well. But yeah, as a band, we're kind of like in a Hailstorm, I think, kind of comparison group. Maybe a
Uh,
little bit with Dorothy, but yeah, something right
first
there.
time I heard Hailstorm, the first time I heard Hailstorm, uh, I got one of those free trials on Hair Nation or whatever the heck it was.
Yes.
And my buddy Eddie Trunk, I love to talk about Eddie because he loves to go on about people using backing tracks and how horrible it is, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
And I used backing tracks this weekend, Eddie, when I played, so and I do it unshamefully. But anyway, it's not, and I heard that song and I was like, "What a freaking cool song and just kind of dove into them a little bit more. Yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
She's badass. She is she can hang with the boys. She's got a voice for days. She came here to where I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is the east coast of Canada, and she lit the town on fire. It was great. So that's a not a bad influence there.
Yeah, yep, yep. They're pretty awesome. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, a jive that, some of our fans, it's kind of hard. People come up to us and say, like, who do you sound like? What do you sound like? And it's just like, I probably have the stupidest look on my face because I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you should tell us. I'm not sure who we sound like. So yeah, it's
Nothing wrong.
interesting.
It's funny because every so often I'll interview somebody and like so Michael Sweet. I mean, like I it wasn't the Christian angle, but I grew up loving Striper, and Robert Sweet was a guy that I remember one time somebody's like, that feel you do in your song is wicked. Yeah, yeah. Second Striper album, third song, second. Like it just claimed it as it was my own. And I said to Michael, I said, yeah, I feel like oh your brother's some sort of payment. And he just laughed and he said, you know how many people he ripped off, and that's kind of the game, right? The game is you bring your influences and you wear them proudly and make them your own. So that's cool. I don't think you should be ashamed of that at all.
Yeah.
Where, so you said northern Utah. So everybody
Mhm.
obviously they think Utah, they think Salt Lake City and what have you. And I've never been, but I've been told by a few people that have been, and it's one of the coolest towns you can be in. But where in northern Utah do you reside?
Yeah, so I call it the North 40 of the state. We're about an hour north of Salt Lake City, and we're about like 30 minutes from the Idaho border. So we live in a small community. There's lots of farmers. We're in the kind of the agricultural area of Utah. So, but
Awesome.
I mean, it's just like a quick hour to Salt Lake, so we're pretty close
So
comparatively.
Miss Carrie Anderson, you got to go do some vocal tracks. So for my
I
viewers, we're
do.
going to find out about Scarlet Rain, what you guys are up to, how they're gonna find you, and get your music.
Yeah, so we're on Spotify. We're on all the major streaming platforms. We're on YouTube. We have a TikTok channel. We're on Facebook, Instagram, on X. Pretty much anything that's social media, we're out there, trying to make a little bit of an influence. We do have a bunch of music videos out on YouTube, and we're actually getting ready to record a new one. So yeah, make sure you follow us on our YouTube channel at Scarlet Rain Music.
Carrie Anderson, thanks so much for doing this. Very nice to meet you. Let's stay in touch. I
Yeah,
want to see what you're up to.
I had a blast. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
And the next time that somebody says Canadians are scary, if they ever do, you can just prove them wrong. That wasn't so bad.
I will. I feel a lot better now, though, just myself.
And I
So
didn't say A once. Take that to the bank too. Thanks
I'm
a lot.
kind of disappointed, but yeah, it's okay.
All right. Talk to you.
Thank you. Have a good day. See ya.